Totoro, 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 Totoro. Okay, anyway.
Brother Sibling
Welcome, friends and chosen family, to Brother Sibling Movie, a podcast where two siblings, that's us, talk about movies we loved from our childhood and some that we may be discovering for the very first time, centered around a different theme every season.
I'm your brother, Evan Kerna.
And I'm still your sibling, Mare Morgan.
You still are. And this week, we are kicking off season 2 with the movie My Neighbor Totoro, the 1988 masterpiece from visionary anime director Hayao Miyazaki and the great Studio Ghibli of Japan.
I'm so excited to talk about it. But first, with a new season, which this is our second season, with a new season comes a new theme. And this season's theme is appropriately siblings! Exclamation.
Hey!
Hey, it's us. We're sibling movies. So yeah,
it's like the thing that we are, but with the movies that are about that thing that we are.
It's the only thing that we have in common, actually, is that we're siblings.
Yeah.
Other than that, very different people. Everybody said so. So this season, we are going to be talking about 10 films that all center sibling relationships in different forms across different genres, roughly from the last, 20 years or so. So yeah, I'm super excited to get into sibling shit.
I'm really excited about this season's theme too. I think that we realized that it would be a really good one to do now towards the beginning of the podcast. If we got to it later, it would be like, why didn't we think of that? That is strange. And it's great because it gives us a very wide swath of genres.
You and I talked for probably 2.5 hours trying to decide the theme of season 2. And this was literally the last theme that we talked about. And both of us were like, hold on a second. Like, we've been talking for like an hour and 45 minutes. And then it was like, what if we did movies about siblings, though? And it was like, fucking duh. Like, why did we not think of that?
It's not satisfying if it doesn't take a little effort to get there.
If it doesn't take a shit ton of effort to get there. I love it. Well, let us now then get into My Neighbor Totoro. This first film,
one of my favorite films of all times.
If you watch this movie and you don't like it, I'm honestly not convinced. Like, if you have a soul, it jury's out on that one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unclear.
So as we always do, we'll kind of start out talking about our connection to this movie. And for me, this is one that it's kind of like, I think we talked about this in like Fifth Element as well, but I don't remember, I don't have a conscious memory of watching this film for the first time. It just sort of always was, like, it just existed. Right. You know, it was just out there. I mean, we watched this. I mean, our dad must have found it like at Video Droid or something. For all of you old school Santa Rosa heads, Video Droid.
Video Droid.
R.I.P. But yeah, so I don't remember watching this for the first time. I think it was when we were watching it, kind of like whatever mid-late 90s. It was before, I think, was it Disney that acquired like the American distribution rights for Studio Ghibli films or something in the early 2000s.
Yeah, which was a deal proffered by John Lasseter of Pixar fame at the time.
Dude, I said that fuck face. Do you need me to say it? Do you want me to get closer to the microphone and enunciate it more? John Lasseter, the absolute creepazoid. Every picture of John Lasseter and Hayao Miyazaki, you can tell Hayao Miyazaki is just like, fuck this guy. I hate him so much. You look like such a buffoon. It's fantastic.
God, there's a story I really want to tell right now. All right, I'll tell it, and then I'll get back into my connection with the movie. So, my friend Steven and I, big Miyazaki heads in college, went, I think this might have been after college or a summer during, I don't remember, but we took a road trip from Santa Barbara up to UC Berkeley because Miyazaki was giving a talk,
Oh shit.
and it was a really great time. And I'll talk more about that later. I mean, Miyazaki is exactly as um, delightful and cantankerous and hateful of humanity as you would imagine that he is based on just watching him on camera or anything
Oh
like
my
that.
god, I love that.
He was an absolute delight. He was like, everybody in Japan's awful. I hate them. And
My
he
man.
was nicer. He was nicer to Americans because he was just like, well, I mean, I'm visiting, so I guess I can't be too mean. But but at that time, Steve, after seeing Miyazaki speak, Steven and I got really obsessed with this particular behind the scenes video. It's really a clip from a behind the scenes video of a trip of a surprise visit that Miyazaki makes to Pixar because at the time he knew that John Lasseter was such a huge fan. John Lasseter is literally in a meeting, like a very important meeting, talking about stuff, and somebody comes up to him and is like, Miyazaki's here. He's like just showed up at the studio to say hi. And John Lasseter's like, he's like jizzing in his pants practically, and he runs down, and it's the funniest thing. Like sometimes Steven and I will just like send this gif between each other where it's like you can see it's like Miyazaki is being very Japanese, and he's walking through the front door, and like John Lasseter is like running through the studio to like meet him at the door like a fucking, like
Like a
it's his high
puppy.
school girlfriend or something. Yeah. So
Oh my
Miyazaki's like
god.
got his hand out to like shake, which is already like an American
Like
thing to do.
way an
He's
American
all
thing to do.
he's
He's like, they don't
already
touch in Japan. Like, I would bow to you and we would be done with this interaction. Thank you so
right.
much.
He's already like extending out and doing the courteous thing, and you can tell John
Oh
Lasseter's
no,
like,
John.
ah, he's got his arms wide. He's like, give me a hug, Miyazaki, and Miyazaki just keeps his hand out, just like, come on, give me a handshake, you fucking dweeb. Like, I swear to God, and then like John Lasseter, I swear to God, like envelops him like he's a giant puddle of goo and just like completely
Oh my god.
it's like that slime monster from like Futurama that just like eats things and you can sort of like see it inside them.
Oh
Yeah, you can
god.
tell Miyazaki, it's probably maybe the most uncomfortable Miyazaki has ever been in his entire life, and it's
That
such a
poor
great
man.
awkward meme.
He's
It's so
like,
great.
I am a genius and you are a fucking buffoon.
To
Like,
be fair,
that
John
is
Lasseter has
John
a lot
Lasseter
of
has his
thing, a lot of
merits.
he's got a lot of good credits to his name. I mean, you can't knock Toy Story too hard. You can knock
I
Cars
know.
pretty hard because Cars is just a stupid, stupid, dumb
I
movie.
I think you could knock Cars as hard as you want.
So
Oh,
that's my
we might
John
have to.
Lasseter story.
I love that. Also, side note, we may have to add Cars to the season. We drank the Haterade because I
Oh, that
fucking
would be
hate Cars.
perfect. Yeah, I hate
Fucking
Cars
hate
too. It's a
Cars,
stupid,
and I
stupid
have some
movie.
fun. It's so bad, but I have some fun stories about it. Evan,
Oh,
tell me your
cool.
connection to My Neighbor Totoro, please, and thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. So when it comes to our connection from early childhood with My Neighbor Totoro, maybe I can shed a little bit of light because I was
Yeah, you were
maybe
older.
just about the age where I could start forming memories. Mare and I watched this movie a lot. I remember we had a really large collection of Disney VHSs, Disney animated movies that I think was sort of instigated by our father kind of in the mid 90s. Disney was like releasing movies from the vault, and
Yeah.
so they made a huge deal out of these like
Mhm.
limited edition Disney VHSs that were like never going to come out again, so you'd be like, I gotta have the whole collection or whatever. And
Right, right.
people like our father love collecting things. And Dad, as you said, I think picked this up one day at like the Video Droid or Blockbuster video rental place as a VHS and brought it home. Had images on it like big furry animals and happy kids. So I think all of us expected it to be kind of a Disney-esque, like, fun, exciting movie. I mean, I think Dad knew it was Japanese, but we were very pleasantly surprised to be proven very wrong in that assumption. It is, I mean, I remember this movie very vividly as a child, seeing it for the first time because it became so important to me because it was one of the first movies that opened me up to this idea that movies didn't have to just be about like heroes and villains or a like a hero's journey per se. Every movie is about that in one way or the other, but like the classical sort of like this is the good guy and this is the bad
Mhm.
guy. And it gave me that first inkling into a world of like, oh, movies told in the format and the medium of film don't have to be just about that. Think these can be, you can just kind of have like a pleasant but also very visceral feeling from just the experience
Yeah.
of watching visuals and audio kind of commingle. It wasn't always about story. There was something deeper about the way that these stories were presented that got under my skin. So I remember
Yeah.
that was a really important piece of the puzzle for me. And My Neighbor Totoro was just such a lovely, strange, beautiful discovery at such a young age.
Yeah. But I feel like also for a long time, when you and I would talk about My Neighbor Totoro with anybody else that was remotely our age, which, like, to be fair, we did not do a lot. Everybody
Homeschool?
was like, homeschool was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, no one had ever heard of it. It was such a yeah, I don't know. It was just such a different thing. But anyway, well, that's amazing. Let us I'm gonna do our little
Let's take us
chat
through
a
Chat
little
GPT
do you wanna
Arabial.
do a little chat GPT?
Hey, buddy, I got some Chat GPT
Hey,
right here.
buddy,
You want some?
you
Oh,
want some
yeah, I've been wanting
you
some.
want
Give me that
you
good
want
stuff.
you want some
Oh,
fucking
Chat
AI? Yeah, it's gonna destroy our
GPT.
world. Take some, man. Fucking so from our Robert?
A Robert. Toto Robot. My
Our
neighbor Toto Robot.
Toto robot overlords, a chat Jepete. My Neighbor Totoro is a heartwarming animated film by Studio Ghibli, directed by Hayao Miyazaki.
Well, what?
The story is set in 1950s, but also, like, is it 1950s? I don't actually know if that's true. It seems like it could be anytime pre-1980. That's me interjecting.
Right.
The story is set in 1950s-ish Japan, rural Japan, and follows two young sisters, Satsuki and Mae, who move to the countryside with their father to become closer or to be closer to their ailing mother, who is recovering in a nearby hospital. As
Yes.
the sisters
Unsure what the illness
who
is,
knows?
which is fine.
She could have tuberculosis, she could have leprosy, literally no one knows. She could have, like, a weird wasting disease that women get, I don't know.
Oh my god,
Um,
we got to talk about The Wind Rises sometime. Tuberculosis for the win.
tuberculosis. As the sisters explore their new home and its surroundings, May encounters a mysterious forest spirit she calls Totoro, a giant, cuddly creature with a whimsical charm. Satsuki soon meets Totoro as well, and together the sisters form a magical bond with him and other enchanting forest spirits. Totoro introduces them to a world of wonder, including a ride on the magical cat bus and the discovery of nature's hidden magic. While the film captures moments of joy and fantasy, it also delicately explores the themes of family, resilience, and the healing power of a connection with nature. Celebrated for its groundbreaking animation, gentle storytelling, and iconic characters, My Neighbor Totoro has become a beloved classic worldwide, embodying a sense of innocence and wonder that transcends cultural and generational boundaries. Stop, Robert Overlord. Description.
And it is made Studio Ghibli, Miyazaki, and all the people who work there lots and lots of money because
Lots of
everybody fucking
money.
because you have probably seen Totoro on just about every single kind of it's
Everything,
like
everything.
everything
Every
backpack,
enamel pin,
plushy
every
toys,
plushie toy, every
slippers,
backpack, everything. It's
pajamas.
everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere, but also with good with good reason. Um, And
with very
also
good reason.
and I'll also just say too, as we're kind of framing this, Satsuki is, about, I don't know, 10 or 11 maybe?
I almost
Somewhere
feel like she's
9?
8 or 9. Maybe
Yeah,
9 is I don't
she's
know.
maybe, like she's somewhere between 8 and 10-ish, and
Mhm.
May is 4. We do know that May is 4. Um,
Yes.
she's very cute. Well,
Probably a very important detail.
probably a very important detail, like, just so put yourself in the mind of, like, an 8 or 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, right?
There you
Like,
go.
we're here. Evan has some fun facts to start us off with.
Yeah, I thought I'd start before we got deep into talking about the movie and themes and scenes that we liked. I thought I might give us some facts about the movie that are fun to know. When this was released in theaters in 1988 in Japan, it was originally paired as a double feature with Grave of the Fireflies,
What in the
another
what in the literal fuck? Like, what?
yeah,
You wrote this down, I saw this in your notes, and I was like, "Who would do that?"
Studio Ghibli would.
Studio Ghibli would. Sorry,
Yeah.
keep talking about Grave of the Fireflies.
So, for those of you that don't know, Grave of the Fireflies is another sibling movie, and I won't get too deep into what it's about, but it's honestly maybe the most depressing movie you will ever watch. It's
Um,
really fucking sad.
Imagine you're 6 years old and your country has just been bombed by the United States government with a
Hmm.
nuclear bomb,
Yeah.
and
And
what
you
happens
and your sibling try
and
to survive in the aftermath of
you are,
that.
like, 6, your sister is, like, 3 or 4, and you are trying to survive in a literal post-apocalyptic hellscape. That's what Grave of the Fireflies is about. It's fucking devastating.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, and it's one of
It
those movies you can really only watch once.
I watched it once and I was like, "God damn it, Hayao Miyazaki, you did it again, and I'm never doing it again. There is no way."
Miyazaki did
Oh,
not
Miyazaki
direct
didn't
that
do that one.
one.
He didn't direct that one. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Grave of the Fireflies was directed by Isao Takahata, one of the other great men of Studio Ghibli, who has made some truly incredible films as well.
Absolutely.
The movies were paired together, because they're maybe they're supposed to kind of take place in the same time period, right? They're sort of about siblings. It was also it was determined that Grave of the Fireflies would have been too sad to just
No
show on its
shit.
own.
No shit.
Yeah. It was also thought at the time that My Neighbor Totoro was probably not going to be very financially successful either, because
Mhm.
specifically because it has the kind of story that we're talking about. It doesn't follow sort of like a protagonist with villains in the sort of
Yeah.
traditional way. It doesn't have a sort of like 3-act structure. I mean, whatever. You can
Mhm.
argue that every movie has a 3-act structure if you look hard enough for it, but it's not a traditional kind of tale. It's much more quiet. It's much more
Yeah.
not
It's
it's its own
vibes.
thing, and they were very worried that it wasn't going to do well. And it didn't actually do that well when it first came out. It was sort of not a very big box office success. But in the years that followed, it became maybe Ghibli's hugest success for all of the reasons, because it's just so great. Um, Totoro, the word, has multiple meanings. It can be a word that symbolizes sort of like harmony between people and nature, but
Oh.
it's also widely, I'm pretty sure widely accepted. I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know. But my understanding is that it's mostly thought to be a mistranslation of the English word troll,
Oh,
totoro. Somebody
oh,
saying
interesting.
troll, troll,
Oh,
troll, totoro.
right. Oh,
So
interesting.
So that's kind of interesting. And maybe they just didn't know what a troll was. And somebody told them, oh, it's like a big thing that lives in the forest. And they're like, oh, we have big things that live in the forest. They're like cute
And
and
they're, like,
cuddly. And we
super
like to hang out with
floofy,
them. Yeah, we'd like to take
and they're, like,
naps on
super nice
them.
to kids and stuff. Not like a troll.
No. Miyazaki and the art director, Kazuo Oga, had some long drawn out discussions about the film's color palette. Oga was more interested in having more greens, kind of what you see represented. And
Mm.
Miyazaki really, I think, wanted the soil to be more reddish clay, which is more accurate to
Mm.
Japan. But sometimes
Oh,
you got to let
shit.
artistic license win out.
listen to the art director. You know what I'm saying?
You can't know everything as the director, it's okay. Um, and My Neighbor Totoro is also Studio Ghibli's fourth film as a studio. So it was only their fourth film, and it's
Man.
Miyazaki's second film with the studio. His first one was Castle in the Sky. He had done
Oh,
a few other movies: Future Boy Conan, Castle of Cagliostro, and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, before him and
mhm.
his friends had created Studio Ghibli together. So just a couple of fun facts for cinema history and needy things. But
I love
I think
that.
now we should get into some of the
It's
things
just
that make
like,
this movie nice and special.
yeah, it was so funny reading through your notes. I was getting so angry because so many of the things that I wanted to talk about, you actually said more eloquently and more specifically and directly than I did. And I was like, God damn it. You're such
Well,
a better writer
again,
than I am.
I was just speaking into a microphone when I said these things, so I was
Ah, see,
just
maybe that
blep,
was what
blep,
it was.
blep, blep,
La, la,
blep,
la.
because I was
Um,
just like, I was watching this. I have seen this movie the proper way many, many times, people. So last night I was giving myself a refresher on the iPad as I sat with a little bit of a sore throat in bed, and I did not want to be typing my notes out on my iPhone like this. So I was just like, I'm just gonna say shit into the phone, and it just made more sense.
hey, I love it. But so well, that makes me even more frustrated because it was just like off the dome and you were better. But it doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm fine. I don't feel inadequate. I feel
I've
great
seen
about
this
myself.
movie many
I
times.
know you have. You have seen this movie many times. But one, so kind of the first uh thing that both you and I definitely keyed into,
Mm,
um, and I think this is especially pertinent to our theme, is childhood delight, and
yes,
specifically how that is shown through May. This
yes,
little adorable 4-year-old kid. Um,
yeah.
Whenever I watch, even especially as I've gotten older somehow, which is kind of weird. Whenever I watch My Neighbor Totoro, I'm just like, oh my god, I think I was May as a child. Just like,
You were.
I'm gonna go get some flowers. Bye. I'll see you later. I'm gonna be in the yard. Dee, 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 dee. Like, I'm gonna go have an adventure with magical fairies. And it was just like kind of an unholy terror, but like in a cute way, but like also not in a cute way sometimes.
Sometimes in a very intense, annoying kind of way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd love to watch there's all kinds of YouTube channels of like uh firefighter or like real spy reacts to this movie. I'd love to watch a psychologist talk about May and just like
Oh,
diagnose her with everything she's got.
everything. Oh my god.
How deeply on the spectrum is May?
It would probably be the same list of diagnoses that I have, surprising no one.
Yeah.
But just
But no,
like
yeah, I literally wrote, "Oh my god, May is such an intense little child." The way she stares at the wall to get the dust bunnies out. They go up into the attic and she's like, "Hmm," just staring intently like a friggin' samurai.
with her little pudgy fists, like, clutched to her chest, like,
I'm
so
convinced that Miyazaki gave the animators, like, reference footage of frogs for May because she is so frog-like in her, like, expression. She's like a cat and a
yeah,
frog in equal measure,
she is.
and the way she, like, hops around from place to place.
She does. She has, like, a little, like, herky-jerky way of moving around, which I think is, like, very funny and very charming. Because I mean, I think also when, when kids are that age, kind of like pre-adolescent and especially, 3, 4, 5, they
Mhm.
haven't, they haven't been around long enough to have any sense of, like, quote, unquote, like, "How do you human?" And they just are, like, kind of wonky, all the time, and it's, like, really funny, and
Yeah.
I there's this scene of May, she's, like puts her little hat on and has her little purse and, like, grabs a trowel and is like, "Bye, dad, I'm gonna go get some flowers," and he's like, I literally can't stop you. Go ahead. um,
It's
which
like,
I was like
great.
deeply relatable. He was like, great, leave me
Yeah.
alone. Deeply relatable, by the
It's
way.
it's yeah. It is very sweet though in this movie how the neither of the parents, but you see more of the dad. The dad is not like, okay, honey. Oh my god. He's like, great. I love it. He's like
Yeah, he's so loving. He's so
he's a
loving.
perfect role model of
Yeah.
a animated kids movie father. He's very into just saying like, it's great
Okay.
that you're kids. In
Yeah.
fact, I'd say keep doing it.
Yeah. Keep being kids. But there's this scene of May. She's like gonna go get some tadpoles, which seems like a super fun, awesome thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
and she's trying to find a bucket, and she finds a little bucket, but it has like a rusted out bottom. But she's just like waddling through the yard with this bucket to her face, being like, "Ooh, I can see the world differently now." And she's kind of like bow-legged, bumbling around. And I was just like,
It's like she's using it as her little
it's
telescope.
it is, and it's so cute because it's just the like, yeah, you're 4. You've known how to walk for like maybe 2 years, and you're just kind of like doing the best you can. And
Yeah.
I love
I mean,
it.
I think you hit on something. I mean, I think that this movie does a great job of capturing that kind of delight that you have in childhood. And
Mhm.
Miyazaki is sort of a master of capturing the little moments like that in the actions of what the characters actually do with their body.
Mhm.
Um, it's like the kind of specificity that is really great to get out of that you can get out of animation that is maybe even difficult to describe to somebody else. I mean, clearly they have to describe it to somebody else because animators have to animate it. But I just love it because there's this kind of delight of childhood that's captured where the emotions are felt in such a deep way and you're reacting to the
Yeah.
environment and the stimulus that you have, and things can be scary and then they can be delightful again, and you can be like, oh my god, like there's these crazy, like we live in this crazy haunted house, and then it's like time to go get a bucket of water and it's like, oh yeah, woohoo, it's like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
May is a
exactly.
perfect exemplar of that sort of childhood delight that is part of the just the very fabric of what this movie is.
Yeah, and it also speaks to, the way that Mei and Satsuki interact as an older sibling and a younger sibling with, like, a significant age gap, not like 20 years or anything, but, they're noticeably different ages. Um,
Right.
and even then of, like, they're so playful and they just have so much delight in being together and being kids, and,
Hmm.
yeah, and I also the thing that I also was kind of noticing this time when I was watching it is the way that May is drawn is sort of reminiscent of how Totoro is drawn, right? They kind of both have like big
Hmm.
mouths and like wide faces. Um, and
Hmm.
both of those characters, Totoro does not speak in the film except to make like "Rah!" noises. Um, but both of them both of those characters radiate so much like genuine emotion, whether that's like a big feeling of happiness or like a big feeling of sadness. They just
Hmm.
radiate it out intensely from
Yeah.
themselves, and and they kind of mirror their facial expressions in the animation, and mirror some of their body language, and it's a cool kind of parallel in that way too of like we don't know how old Totoro is, like, maybe it's, an eternal forest being. We don't know. Could be thousands of years
Yeah.
old, but just, like, there's that sheer joy and delight of, like, "I fucking love being alive," and, like, "This is so exciting."
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, you've hit on something. I mean, they literally, when she meets him, which, we'll get into more specifics of the scene, but like they actually, she's literally like imitating all the things that he does, which is kind of
Yeah.
a great way to get in. I'm also just very taken with the idea, the sort of representation of how, like, when you're just experiencing pure joy, like it seems like the message of this movie is like, if you're experiencing pure joy, you just, just scream it out, just
scream.
Ah! It's
Ah!
awesome.
Just like
Anytime something super exciting has happened, you just gotta like wah, let it out of your body with a big old
it's
like unhinged jaw.
it's like,
All the
in
teeth showing.
all the teeth showing. It's like in Mexico how they have gritas, like when you like they do the like big yell. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah. Hmm.
it's that like just you're just vocalizing exuberance.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
Oh, I love it. Yeah, what a great movie. Um,
it's so good.
do you want to get into maybe? I feel like we can start talking about the specifics of the movie. There's so many
Sure.
good scenes throughout
I
the
know.
just chronology of the movie. I think we could just talk about pieces of it and sort of go into detail about each one and have a great time with lots of things to say
Let's
about them.
let's do it to it, brosif.
So I'll just talk about the opening first. The movie opens in rural Japan, right? And you encounter a kind of truck, tuk tuk thing with a bunch of furniture on it, just putting down the rural Japanese country roads. Yes,
I
ma'am. I
want
see a
I
question
want
from the front of the
I
class.
I'm 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 so excited. I Oh my god, did you know that you can buy those trucks? Those little three-wheel
Really?
Japanese trucks. Did you know that you can buy them in the States
I
and
did
they're
not
like
know that,
5 grand?
but
I want
I
one
think
so badly. I want one so badly. I do have to learn how to drive a manual transmission, but like small price to pay. Anyway, continue.
yeah, no, I think this is the next big family savings event.
It
Get
is.
Mare a truck. Get Mare a Japanese three-wheeled tuk
God
tuk
damn it.
truck.
I need a truck so badly. Anyway, keep talking about the story. I'm so sorry.
I've taken this with me in stories that I tried to tell, taking these very like specific family moments and I have never done it quite as well as this. And it speaks to the amount of clarity of vision that Miyazaki has, especially about old things, because they have like a dresser drawer in the back of the truck, and the girls are like underneath the dresser drawer because there's no other room in the truck for them to be, and they hide when they see somebody on a bike, but they're like, oh, it's not a policeman, like, hello.
It's
So
fine.
it's just a very it's immediately very evocative, right? So it makes me think about the time period of when this movie is like supposed to take place, right? um so I think this movie really continues Miyazaki's obsession and his clarity for this kind of idealized past of Japan, and it without being, you know, blunt about it or anything, without saying this is what I'm trying to get across to you. I feel like this movie is intentionally designed to evoke like the recent past, right?
Mhm.
It's in kind of like a non-specific past time. A, because it's so rural, like where they moved to
Mm.
is so outside of a city that it is particular, it's particularly old fashioned in that way. To me, this movie always feels like it could have taken place in the 40s or it could have taken place 10 years ago.
I mean,
Is to
there's
the movie's benefit. It makes it feel like a timeless movie.
it is, and I mean, there's, like, cars, and there's a telephone,
Hmm.
but there's not, the that Satsuki and Mae's family doesn't have a telephone in their house, and they have, the old school bathtubs with, like, wooden tops on them, and they have a water pump outside, and so it is sort of one of those things where it's like, well, this could be a really rural part of Japan in 1995, or it could be like 1920s Japan, like because also the clothing is pretty 20th century ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
Hmm.
kind of could
Yeah.
be of any time, which I think also is one of those things that it does make it have staying power in a
Hmm.
certain way, right? Like it is of all times and no time specifically.
I think Miyazaki clearly knows when the movie takes place. Like
For
he's got a
sure.
very specific year that it's happening in. But
He's
I
like,
think
this
the
is
way
1951 in August.
right. But in the context of the movie, you're so taken none of that has any specific um like the forest and nature is so much more important to the movie that that part of it doesn't have much bearing on what the movie is. I mean, look, to be fair, yes, the phone that she calls on is a very old school style phone that was probably around in like the 50s or 60s. So
Sure.
there's things, I'm not saying there aren't things that you can look at to place it in kind of a specific time, but like it doesn't feel like it's intended to be a period piece. It feels like it's intended
Yeah.
to be kind of timeless feeling.
Yeah, like with enough uh touch points of modernity, but not it's not like Spirited Away, right? That is like very,
Right.
very set in like a modern world and then they go into the
Yeah.
spirit world.
Yeah, Spirited Away is much more of a it needs to take place more in a modern era because it's much more of a critique of
Yeah.
consumerism and stuff like that. Sorry. Uh, let's talk about the house, the haunted
The
house.
haunted house, which PS, can I just really quickly so they move into this beautiful old house in the country and the girls get there and they're like running around the house and like, "Ah, it's just so fun." And they're like twirling around this like this post on their
Hmm.
porch and it's
Yeah.
like dry rotted kind of and so when they push on the post it's like showering wood chips down on them and they think it's funny and so
Yeah.
they keep pushing it and I was like dry rot is not funny kids like oh my god stop doing that.
You're just like, keep up the sanctity of the foundation of the house, damn
I
it.
was like that's
As a homeowner, you're like, you're destroying this place.
I was like that's 5 grand to fix the whole fucking porch structure like don't we
Yes,
gotta
it is
put
a
it down
very different.
we
It
gotta
is a
put
very
it
different perspective watching this movie as an adult than as a
I
little
know.
child.
That was the only thing that I was like, "Oh my god, don't do that.
Yeah, stop having fun.
Not around
Yeah,
dry rot."
yeah, but no, they do. They are. It is clear that they are just so excited to be in a new place, which is very infectious. You know, it feels so delightful to be out in nature. You have no idea where these kids came from. And I just so and immediately it gets into the kind of supernatural nature of what
Mhm.
is going on in this
Ye
house because there's this scene when they open the back door and it's the first time you see all of the dust sprites like just
The
scattering
little
away.
soot sprite.
Yeah, the soot sprites, another iconic
Oh,
creature in
another
this movie.
yes. Seen again in Spirited Away.
Yes. But yeah, there's sort of like I just again, I'm gonna get so into all of the little details throughout this movie. It's just great because it's so arresting at the very beginning of the
Mm.
movie, where like you've had, and again, it speaks to that kind of like fluidity you have as a child to go from like exploding with laughter and excitement and running around in the yard, and then suddenly like something happens that you've never seen before, and then
And you're
you're
like,
like,
"Ugh,
holy shit, like what's up? And then
what's
you're like
going on?"
running around the house again, like it's all fine, you know, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And as they're like opening up the house, I love this other little detail. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this, count how many times I say this, but like Miyazaki is a master of little character details, especially in
It's
like young kids. Um, but like
there's
they're running around the house to try to open it up, and Satsuki is opening everything up. And May is kind of like following her and doing all the same things that she's doing, which is just like
but, like,
so
kind of
cute and
badly.
endearing. Right.
Well,
Right.
like,
In a
badly.
4-year-old's kind of way.
In a four-year-old way, because she's kind of, like, wobbly, you know? And, like,
She
also
wants to
Satsuki
be following her big sister's example, but she also is like wants to do it herself, you know? There's all this kind of like stuff wrapped up in that characterization that's just a great observation of like a human character, you know?
yeah, and I was just gonna say a little thing about the that quality of Miyazaki films is that he is obviously such a keen observer of the world around him,
Mhm.
and in every movie that Miyazaki directs, there is if not a dozen or more, there's at least one really really specific human moment that is not important to the plot, it's not important to what's happening in a scene, but it tells you something about the character because of how they are moving through the world or interacting with the world. Um,
Mhm.
and like you said, I think that is particularly evident in how um, in the characterization of children
Mhm.
in Miyazaki films and like how kids are shown and
Yeah.
given agency, but also kind of like, but they're still kids. We'll
Mhm.
talk more about that theme in a bit, but yeah.
There's many ways to get into, writing screenplays and stories, but, one popular way of thinking of it is that the character is the story. Like the story's happening to the character. So focus on your character and the story will begin to unfold because the stuff needs to happen to them. So it's
Mm.
all intertwined. And yeah, I think that those tiny details, again, this is what makes these movies, Ghibli movies, Miyazaki movies, like seemingly so different from other movies of similar types. It's like the specificity of the world and the actions that characters take. It seems like it doesn't matter, but it's those little details that make you feel at home with these people. It makes them feel real and it makes them more understandable to you because you're like, "Oh, that's a thing I have seen humans do."
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's almost those little moments are almost like a shorthand where even though it's an animated character and they're obviously very stylized, it's a shorthand to get you into what that character is feeling or what they're experiencing by those little moments, right? Of like you're getting in the way, when you're doing like character design and it's like, oh, you have to have a really strong silhouette because that is kind of what drives that character, right? How they what their silhouette is in space. It's like
Mhm.
that, but with their personality. So you get these little like silhouettes of their personality in those small specific moments, which
Yeah,
it just makes everything, even though they are animated and they are stylized, they feel very real. Like Studio Ghibli
mhm.
films, Hayao Miyazaki films feel really real. And I think that's
Totally.
part of the reason why.
Oh, you gotta love them. And, nothing is more real in this particular movie than the relationship between the 2 siblings, right? They've really
Mhm.
found a way to represent that thing in a way that felt good, and really the whole family, I guess.
I think the whole family, because the parents are, like you said, there isn't really a quote unquote main character. The mom is still a character. The dad is very much a character. Granny is still a character. Um, but even the way that all the adults in this film interact with the children is really kind and loving and has a center of like belief and acceptance and like great. That's awesome. I love that.
I know. I was gonna say that, one of the cool things, from this movie that I remember as a kid was how I was surprised at the way that the dad was characterized. He wasn't going out of his way to not dispel the notion of the supernatural. Okay, what I mean by that is that he's encouraging the beliefs of them and the
He
little
is.
sprites and dust bunnies. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh," they're like, "We saw something," and he's like, "Oh, that must be the dust sprites or the dust
Yes.
bunnies." They're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they live in haunted houses. I've always wanted to live in a haunted house." He's, like,
Yeah.
making it fun for them in a way, and I really love that as a good
Yeah.
example of, like, a fatherly, example on film. I don't think I'd seen something quite like that before.
Well, and even there's the scene where it's like their first night in the house and they're all like taking a bath or whatever. And the girls are kind of getting freaked out because it's like an older house and it's their first night and it's creaky and they've seen all these weird dust sprites. And the dad just starts like laughing really, really loudly
Yeah.
and like, ah, ha, ha, and like splashing the water and like tickling and like just being like very silly and
Mhm.
joyful and like enjoying the fantasy, like, enjoying the whimsy with his
Yeah.
kids, which is really cool of not, like, shutting down, not shutting down, like, "There's no such thing as fairies. There's no such thing as soot sprites. Like, shut up, get real, like, it's fine, blah, 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 blah." It's like he's like,
Right.
"Yeah, no, we can totally do this," and even the dad
Because
is
he
so
probably feels a little bit of that supernatural kick in the
Sure.
house too?
Sure, how could you not? And even the mom at one point says like, "Oh, I wanna live in a haunted house. I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to meet the ghosts." Um, but even the dad too is like continually throughout the film, just because we're talking about him, I'll jump ahead in the story a little. After May meets Totoro, and um, he kind of is like, "Oh, I think you met a forest spirit," and like that's so cool. So like, hey, we should go say thank you to the forest spirit for like keeping you safe and like making sure you're okay. And
Mm,
so he takes his daughters to the camphor tree. Insert Princess Mononoke conspiracy theories here,
right.
but he's teaching his kids a level of kindness and reverence that is really delightful and wonderful.
We'll be right back with more Brother Sibling Movie. So you hit on that scene where they're in the bathtub and they start chasing the sort of soot sprites away.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a second to have a little bit of a cinema rant because I wanted to talk specifically about that scene or maybe the scene before it. Get ready. Okay, here's a little rant that I want to go on just about
We're
movies.
roseate. I'm roseate up for Evan's cinema rant. Let's go.
Here we go. We've been talking about a lot of delightful things in nature and stuff, so I'm going to get into some insider Hollywood nonsense. So I heard anecdotally through an Instagram of a producer that I follow that there's an edict these days at Netflix to kind of dumb down shows that they're putting out. Maybe a kinder way to say that is to like de-visualize them, because they're realizing the data is saying that people are watching this while they're on their phones. So they're getting distracted.
Mhm.
They want to have something on, but they want to be able to like know what's going on without paying fully attention. The edict for so long in like all filmmakers was show, don't tell. This is audio is a
Yeah.
very important part of this and dialogue is important, but this is a visual medium. So show us what's
Yes.
happening and that sort of connection point that happens between the viewer and the visual where they get to interpret what's going on in the story is one of the great things about movies in my opinion. So they're asking writers to explain what's going on in the dialogue, explain it multiple times so that if you miss it the first time you hear it again. They're being asked to repeat information because again, people are coming to watch Netflix with their phone on, with other things going on. They want to be working, which is fine and all, but as a filmmaker, it's fucking depressing. Um, so to
Yeah,
me,
that's very
this
depressing.
movie, this movie is fucking cinema. Not to be an elitist asshole about it, but I'm going to be. So fuck it. But I specifically think about right before the bath scene, okay? There's a scene where Satsuki goes out to fetch firewood for the fireplace. And she's walking outside and she like I feel like I've had this experience before, you know. You're in a new house and you have to go outside to get something and the wind is blowing and the wind picks up and it like tosses the wood out of her hands, you know, and it gets
And
carried
like
away
up
and
into the trees. Yeah.
yeah, and there's this moment of what the Japanese call ma, which is kind of like stillness or silence where not much is going on. She's just kind of like sitting, watching the trees sway and kind of watching the power of the natural world taking over and like um it's sort of like this world that is terrifying and beautiful at the same time where you're
Mhm.
like stuff is so much bigger than me like I could get carried away on this wind. These trees have been here for hundreds thousands of years possibly and they're just like so much more than I am, and everything about this particular scene is all told visually. um and it gets across a very specific feeling that there aren't that it's very difficult would be difficult to describe with words or dialogue, you know. It's that feeling of being a
And it would
kid and being impressed and being terrified and being like the natural world is so
yeah.
awe-inspiring and I'm just a little thing in it, you know. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to put it into words as well as they put it into visuals and auditory experiences, you know.
It's so true because they're, this is a thing that comes up so often in like book adaptations too, right? Where if you're adapting a book into a film or a television show, so much of what's happening in a book and what is so entrancing about that book is a character's internal dialogue. And I think
Mhm.
the same could be said,
Right. And that's
and
what books are good
and
at.
that's what books are really, really good at, and you can't
Mhm.
translate that to, a visual medium in the same way. In the same way.
Classically why people have always thought that
Yeah,
Dune was an adaptable book because the whole thing is internal dialogue
it's
of
vibes,
multiple characters.
and it's fucking great. But I think in the same way, those kind of what we're talking about, especially in childhood, those, like, big feelings
Mhm.
are hard to put into words,
Yeah.
but they can be put into visuals and sound. And
Yeah, and you don't have the words for them as a child. You don't sort of
exactly,
have enough experience to contextualize what you're experiencing. You're just experiencing this thing that you haven't experienced before.
yeah, because and you hit exactly, like, it's scary and it's exciting and it's really awesome. But
Yeah. So
but
that
yeah,
specific scene of her getting the wood and being like awe-struck by the power of the natural world and the fact that there's probably something else out there. It's just such a specific feeling. It's and the visuals and the audio and the color of the scene and the composition get it all across in a way that is so visceral. And if you weren't paying attention to what was going on the screen, you wouldn't feel that specificity of feeling. You wouldn't be transported into that sensation if someone was like, I'm feeling so weird that the wind took the firewood away. And I'm just like, it makes me so mad to know that there are people trying to push that as a way to make movies. But it makes me very happy to know that there are examples of this in the world that do it masterfully. And
yeah,
in my humble opinion, that is what you make movies for to
yeah.
capture moments like that. Whether
Well,
it's
and
with capturing it with a camera with real people or whether you're inventing it out of, pencil, paper, and color.
yeah, and it speaks to the strength of the medium, right? You know?
Yeah.
It You're using that medium for what it's really great at, is
Yeah.
combining sound and visuals and music to all come together to evoke a feeling in the audience.
Oh, and speaking of music, man, just a side note here, gotta talk about Joe Hisaishi's soundtrack, man.
Let's
Just I
Oh my
mean,
god. This
There's not
boy.
much to
Yes, yes,
there's
yes,
not much to
yes,
say
yes.
about it except that it's incredible and he always does such a great job, but this one is also very evocative, full of wonder. Um, I was lucky enough to go see him in concert at the Hollywood Bowl a few summers ago, and
Oh,
it's as incredible as you think it should be. He played the Totoro theme, he played the Mononoke theme, he played Spirit. It was awesome.
that's
Um,
amazing. Oh my gosh.
yeah, and this time I actually noticed all the little places that the
The
theme,
theme comes through,
the
yeah, in
melody is
different
played in
ways.
different because it's usually um well there's da 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 da. So there's Totoro, the nice theme, and then there's
Mhm.
da 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 da. So you hear those
Mhm.
themes. I realized that there was a few different places where he took those themes and played them like there's um when May is like looking under the foundation of the house, you hear it played it with a different, and then when they're all kind of up on the branches and Totoro is like playing the ocarina or whatever it is, you can hear
Yeah.
him like and he's kind of like learning how to play it, which is kind of cute. So
It is
I'd never
cute.
noticed that before, but this time I was like,
Yeah,
oh, this is cool. They're like using, which is what you do with a movie theme, but it was cool to notice it this time.
yeah. Uh, and again, I yeah. Joe, how do you say his last name?
I think it's Joe Hisaishi would be the
Hisaishi.
most accurate. Hisaishi.
Hisaishi. Well, let us know if we're wrong. Um,
Yeah.
I also do think it's fun because in my brain canon of Studio Ghibli films, I think Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro are very linked um, in a lot of ways, but there are also some things where I was like, wait, is Princess Mononoke like the theme music in Princess Mononoke? There were certain times where I was like, is that a more like complex, layered, different idea, but you have the same musical themes as Totoro? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, it's entirely possible. I mean, Joe Hisai, just like any composer, you do start
Of
to
course,
hear
you
sort
have
of
a
like
certain
things that are
similarity.
similar, yeah, because of your tastes or whatever. But the camphor tree is a good, like you said, conspiracy theory. Be like, is that the same tree? Are they in the Kodama forest?
You know
What's
what?
going on here?
I choose to believe they are.
I choose to believe.
I
I feel like
choose.
we should talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the meeting Totoro scene and what we think about, just because
Yay!
we haven't even talked about Totoro himself. We've
The
been talking about these siblings and their like
Ugh,
relationship with each other.
so stupid. Yeah, it's so sweet because so when May is like out gathering flowers and she has her little bucket and is like wandering around the yard, she starts gathering acorns because in the house when they saw the soot sprites there were these little acorns. And so
Oh,
she starts
yes.
seeing acorns in the yard and she gets really excited and they're in a little trail and she starts following them. And then she sees this teeny tiny white little buddy who is kind of they're indescribable. Look up a picture of a Totoro if you don't know what they look like. But it's like a little one and he's kind of translucent and he
Mhm.
thinks that she can't see him. But when it's very clear that she is like hyper focused on him and is like big eye, like, "Oh my god, new friend," and he's like, "Oh my god, no." And
It
he's
makes
like,
me so happy to know that May's idea of making a friend is chasing them and like, I don't know what, I did that as a kid too, but it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna just like grab them and just be like,
"Yes."
"You're mine now"? like,
No, it's
like, what's the end goal?
I think the end goal is like, "You will turn around and we will be friends,"
Right.
is the end goal. Because she's just but again, it's that little bit of like, "Wait, what's happening right now?" Because they don't to be fair, like, Totoros don't look like an existing animal, right? It's not like, "Oh, it's a bunny rabbit." Um,
Right. It's kind of a cat. It's kind of a rabbit. It's kind of
kind
like
of
a
a
panda bear or something.
kinda it's kinda like a blob with pointy ears too.
And yet you feel like you know what it is.
You totally know what it is. Um, but that is sort of her introduction to, like, seeing this sort of otherworldly creature and being like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go find it." Um, and
Yeah,
that
and that whole sequence of her chasing it
oh
through
my
the sort
god.
of, like, Alice in Wonderland overgrowth path and
Yeah.
getting to the big camphor tree and falling through the portal to the inside of the trunk is
That's like
just
the
such a
roots.
yeah,
It's
it's
really
such an incredible
beautiful.
sequence, yeah.
All of her movements are so, like you can imagine, like, a kind of a chubby little four-year-old, like, like, being crazy and just sort of,
Yeah,
like, showing up, and she tumbles down into the center of the camphor tree, which is all lush and gorgeous and mossy, and she falls on the ground and sees this big tail, and she starts poking it, which I
another
was like
great specific action, yeah.
yes, of just
You were
being
you were
like
definitely a poker as a child.
I I relate so hard to May in so many ways because she was just like her first thought was not like, "This is dangerous." Her first thought was like, "What is that? I should touch it." Um,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's pretty fuzzy, and
is that
I
very
also
fuzzy?
want to I also want to touch fuzzy things.
I mean, who doesn't? But it's like but then it like ends up being like the big Totoro, and she
Yeah.
climbs onto his belly, and they have the great like shouting match back and forth, for lack of a better term, and
Ah! Ah!
ah! Which is it's so cute, and again, like, that's what you do when you're a kid, you kind of are like, "Is that what we're doing?
Can you
Okay."
imagine though, just taking a nap in your cool little like forest apartment, and then suddenly having this like just waking up to having this little child like poking your nose and
And
just be
being like,
like,
"The fuck?"
"What the fuck? Okay." And like
Like,
that's my favorite thing about the characterization of Totoro is he's just like,
"Okay."
"Okay.
Like, "Sure, I guess."
All right.
Because
I
then
guess this is what's happening to me now."
and it's so sweet because May ends up, like, falling asleep on his tummy, on his big, soft, chubby tummy, and
Ah,
and
fuzzy naps.
I remember as a kid just being like, "I wish I had that." Like, I wanna fall asleep on a big, fuzzy, like, cuddly thing in the forest. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm.
And I would I would also just like to say that, there's so many depictions across so many different cultures of forest spirits and
Mhm.
fey creatures and stuff like that. I think the energy that I want to bring into the year 2025 is being more like Totoro, just being
Mhm.
like in your lane, in nature,
Mhm.
fluffy, sleepy, thriving,
Big, fat,
enjoying,
fuzzy. That's all you
big fat
need.
fuzzy. I'm not really any of those things, but like it's
But you
just
can strive to be.
I can strive to be. I can try my best. Um I'm like that is such a friendly way to show a forest spirit of just kind of being like, I mean, I guess you're like a kid or something. I I'm gonna go back to sleep though, because like this is nap
Yeah.
time.
He seems more than
Um,
happy to enjoy a
Stay if you
nap
want
with
to.
May. He's like, "I
And
guess we're
his
new friends
and
now
all
and
of
we're napping buddies.
yeah, we're
Cool."
napping buddies. Um, and there's just such an immediately like there's an immediate connection and trust both with May and with Totoro where they're like, okay, like sure, crazy, but sure. Um, and
I think I think it's perfectly okay, um, if I may steal your line, to have your main concerns be napping and making plants grow.
that's all I want to do.
Yeah. Nap, make plants grow.
Nap and make plants grow. It's my life's purpose of it. And just like the first time that you see all the Totoros, they have a lot of personality and a lot of character, but they never say anything. They're only like making little noises or like doing little things, but every little twitch and way that they move their mouth and their hands and whatever, it's just you get a sense of the kind of creatures that they are, which is they're just like chilling in the forest and like, I guess you're here too? Okay. Like, it's just, like, it's a very chill vibe, like, Totoro is just bringing a chill vibe to the party.
And we should all strive for that. I think that,
We should.
yeah, it's a testament to the movie that it pulls off a chill vibe and a comfy vibe, and still feels like it has a lot to say, even though it does not have what people might think of as a plot, so to speak.
Yeah, and so that kind of initial meeting of Totoro, um, and in the background of all of this stuff happening of, they're in this new house and Satsuki's going to school and has friends and the dad is working and Mei is, with whoever and Um, there's in the background of all of that stuff happening, um, their mom is sick, and so that's sort of the undercurrent. And there's this really, I mean, iconic for lack of a better term, like you've seen stills of this, I'm sure. Um, there's this scene where the two girls are alone, and then they're like, and it's raining, and so they want to go meet their dad at the bus stop
Mhm.
together to give him his umbrella,
Yeah.
which is really sweet. And both
Oh
Evan
man, we didn't even talk about the little boy who keeps giving things to Satsuki and running away. Oh my
and
god. Pure little boy vibes. I was like, I know you,
pure.
man. I get it. I
I was
know.
I it
When I remember, well, I still do this. Let's go up to a girl we like and just give them something to try to, and then run away.
and then
So yeah, the little boy, whatever
yep,
his name is, gives
it's
Satsuki an umbrella to use, and it's
Kune
very
or
cute.
Kana or something. I
Yeah.
can't remember, but yeah, he's peak little boy vibes because he's
Kanta,
like,
I
"Ew,
think.
girls are gross and have cooties." Yeah, and he's like, "Ooh, girls are
Yeah,
gross and have cooties, but also I like you, so here, have an umbrella, but I will not talk to you
yeah,
under no
exactly.
circumstances."
So anyway, the girls
Very
are in the
sweet.
rain, as you were saying.
So they're in the rain and they walk to the bus stop to see their dad. So in this scene where the girls are waiting at the bus stop, both Evan and I hit on this scene as something that we wanted to talk about a little bit. They're waiting for their dad. The first bus comes and he's not on the bus, and it starts to get a little darker. And the second bus comes and he's not on that bus, and it's getting a little darker. And they're, like an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old alone on a rural road with no light in the rain, waiting for their dad. The whole world seems very big. Like the whole world around them seems very cavernous and empty and lonely.
They do
And
this
like,
great thing with the composition, especially when the
mhm,
light comes on at night, the street lamp, where everything kind of fades away to black at the edges of the screen. So
yeah,
it's just sort of like you're in this kind of little isolated pocket, and out there is like the darkness and the rain, and you're just kind of
yep.
like chilling out there.
And you're just there. And it's really sweet because May, she's 4. She like kind of starts to fall asleep a little bit, and
Classic little sister move.
shut the fuck up. And
I'm ready to do it. I can do anything you can do. I'm sleepy. Hold
I'm
me.
tired. Hold
I
me.
fucked up.
I fucked up so hard. And obviously, like, Satsuki's tired too, but she like lifts May onto her back and they're still waiting. And then what does Satsuki see? She's a big
Big
fuzzy
old furry
bunny.
foot.
Just this big old furry bunny next to her. And it's Totoro. And he just is standing next to them like the most autistic person trying to make a friend. Just
With a
like
lily pad on his head.
with a lily pad on his head because it's raining. And he's like, I wanted to keep the rain off of my giant body. And so I put a lily pad on. But
This feels like it will work.
this feels like it will work, but he's just standing there, not making eye contact, not doing anything, just standing next to the girls.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet because like Satsuki offers him an umbrella and he is just like, the fuck? And it like blows his mind.
Yeah.
Like the technology of an umbrella blows his mind. And
The
they have this
fuck?
like such a sweet interaction.
Yeah. Um this so when I got to the bus stop scene, a part of me was like, I don't want to talk about the bus stop scene. Like everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. It's iconic, like everybody knows it. I was like, I'm going to pick apart all the other things about Totoro that makes it great and find these other little scenes. But then I got to the
And then
bus stop
did
scene
you watch
and
the
I was
best I've
like,
seen? It was really good.
yeah, of course. It's iconic for a reason, right? It is on the posters for a reason.
Yeah,
Um
it
I think
is.
that to put on, animation nerd hat for a second, I'd say that this whole scene is a perfect example of like why the rule that like less is more, like in American animation since the days of Walt Disney, there's been this edict that everything must be in motion and,
Yeah.
like to be animated, it needs to be animated, right? Um, but what makes this scene so cool is the restraint it takes in allowing things to be still, to let things happen that allow you to take in the wonder of what's happening to them. Like Satsuke is seeing the forest spirit for the first time. You notice that in the wide shot where we establish the geography of Totoro standing next to them. Satsuki's under the pink umbrella holding May. That whole shot has absolutely no motion in it whatsoever besides the
Yeah.
falling rain.
Hmm.
And it holds that shot for like 5 or 6 seconds, which
Yeah.
like feels like an eternity in an animated movie by some standards for something not to be moving. I rewatched a while ago. I was watching All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I love
Mm.
that movie too for different reasons. But the first 10 minutes of this movie is like, oh my God, shit can't stop moving in this movie. It's just like everything is like, it's like, oh my God, show some restraint, Don Bluth.
He will not.
So there's no motion in that scene, and that's exactly what it needs to be in that moment.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense for anything to be moving, and I think it's so smart. Um, it's almost just like a literal still image. This is like a classic example of Miyazaki being a master of restraint. And then of course,
Mhm.
when they do move, it doesn't take a lot for the next moves to feel big. Like as soon as
Mm.
Totoro really likes hearing the sound of the big raindrops that are dropping off of the tree onto the top
Yeah.
of his umbrella as soon as Satsuki gives him an umbrella. And he again, like a neurodivergent person, is like, ah. He's like, this is exciting. And then he just like jumps off the ground and like releases all of the water in the tree to like get the, and then he's just like he's like so happy at like the sound of rain on his umbrella. And it's
It's it made me
but
that him being so happy about the noise of the rain on the umbrella or the water on the umbrella made me so happy because there was this moment where I was like, for the first time, I was like, is Totoro neurodivergent, like coded or something? Because he's like so like in the moment and like sensory seeking and just like so excited about everything. And I was like, I
yeah,
fucking love you even more. Like, and it again,
well,
it speaks
maybe.
to that, like, childlike sense, right?
Yeah.
It's that unfettered joy for the like, joy for joy's sake.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe neurodivergence is the way we're actually supposed to be, and this productivity oriented mindset of consumer capitalism is the
Maybe it's
constraints that we've put on people that, whatever. Look,
maybe it's what's
and that's
actually
me as a
killing.
person who succeeds in the quote unquote normal person world quite well and is rather organized, but I appreciate people who have
Yes.
the capacity to be obsessed with like the small things of life and to let that become their whole personality. Like, hats off
Yeah.
to all of you, my neurodivergent
It's
friends.
just it's one of those things of, I think this is the thing that I've maybe learned about myself on the neurodiverse spectrum of things and whatever, that at some point, I feel like for a lot of adults, for a lot of people, as you grow up, our brains are pattern seeking, right? We seek patterns, and so we kind of see what we want to see, and that's why kids, everything is new to them, and so everything is kind of exciting and different and new, and you want to touch it and interact with it. Um, and fun fact, that I don't think happens when you are on the neurodiverse spectrum. That part of your brain that goes like, okay, well, we're seeing, here's the expectation, and so here's what we're seeing, and like this is the same experience over and over, and with just whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know that that happens, or at least I don't experience that happening because to me, most of the time, I'm like, no, this is like, I saw the coolest mushroom, and it was, like, the coolest thing, and I, like, stopped Evan on a hike to
Yeah, the last time we went on a hike together while we were together during the holidays, it was like a friggin' TED Talk every friggin' 10 minutes. Just like, "Oh, look at this. It's a blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's cool. This is a pretty sweet mushroom."
and then right back into the conversation we were having. But
Yeah.
yeah, that, like, being awake and aware of the world around you is there is something kind of magical and otherworldly about it, because I think most people do. You kind of get into your patterns and you get into how things work, and that's that, right? You don't get
Yeah.
excited about the sound of rain on an umbrella,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
like kind of exciting and like pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And I'd also like to just point out that I don't know, another piece of this scene that I absolutely love is just cutting back and forth to the frog
I
across
know.
the road. He's just like, "Oh, there's also a frog in this scene." And at first he's kind of like, "The fuck is
Brr.
going on here?" And then at the end, when Totoro leaves, the frog, I think the frog is happy. He's like,
I think
"Ah."
he also does the he
What a fucking masterpiece this movie is.
it's
Got
so
a frog
good.
reaction shots, not just one, but two.
2. 2. And it's also
Incredible.
that the thing that you put in your notes, which is the conceit of this film, is that when, like you already said it, I think, but when you experience peak joy or happiness, you just need to like open your mouth as big as you can and like yell, just like a noise, just like ah,
I
ah,
just
amazing.
yeah, here's my quote. I also just love in this movie that when you, Totoro, or anyone experiences just pure joy, the only thing to do is scream as loud as you can.
Again, is Totoro a neurodivergent icon?
It should be. Let's make some t-shirts.
I think that that might be how I choose to view this film from now on.
Yeah. Shortly after Satsuki encounters Totoro for the first time and May sees him again, we get a very delightful, also iconic scene, the tree growing ceremony
Well,
that
because
happens.
after Satsuki gives Totoro the umbrella, he gives her this little adorable packet of seeds
Yeah.
as a thank you, as a like, here's a thing for you now. You gave me a thing, I give you a thing.
Thanks for the umbrella.
Yeah, here are some seeds, which also, my friend Dave, love you, Dave. One time he described me. He was like, "Yeah, most of the time when you like show up to like a party or my house, I like 90% expect you to just like pull plants and seeds out of your jacket to give to people." And the reason he said that is because it had
You
happened
do that?
every single time we
The
hung out.
reason he says he thinks I do that is because
Is
I
because
do that.
I do that and it's accurate. And
Does
so
anybody want seeds? You're like a little seed drug dealer.
I I'm not even kidding you. I was in Milwaukee and I went on a walk in Milwaukee in this was back
A
in the fall.
Milwaukee?
A Milwaukee. And I had on my what I call my VGJ, my very gay jacket. It's my jean jacket. And it has a
Good
lot
name
of
for it.
thank you. It has a lot of pockets, like internal and external pockets. And it's
Mhm,
also become my seed collecting jacket. So when I was going through this neighborhood, this really nice neighborhood in Milwaukee in the
mhm.
fall, I was just stopping at people's yards and like breaking off seed heads of stuff and like stuffing them in my pockets. And so I
Damn.
got so I got back and I was just like,
Doop, doop, doop. I got
"Dude."
Milwaukee seeds.
Yeah, and I just like was like kept pulling things out of pockets and it was so anyway, what I'm saying is I appreciate Totoro for showing love and appreciation through the exchange of seeds.
Yes, a seed exchange is your love language.
It really is. Oh my god, I love a seed exchange. Oh god. Okay, but let's talk about this tree growing ceremony. That was the longest way to set up. Totoro gives and May some seeds.
He does. He sure does. And they plant those seeds. And then they fall asleep. And then they wake up. And May, in childlike way, is like, when are the seeds going to grow? When are the seeds going
Like
to
when
grow?
it's
Because
gonna
May has
happen.
absolutely no fucking chill about anything ever.
I love
Uh,
I love every time that we talk about a movie that has a character
that
who
reminds me of you.
yes, who I very strongly identify with, and at some point in us talking about the movie, you fucking lose your mind of like, so fucking annoying. And I'm like, yes,
Is me.
is
Look, May is 4 years old. It's totally understandable. It's a little less reasonable when you're 34 years old. You're like, when are the seeds gonna sprout? Like, oh my god, they're seeds.
I just get
um,
excited. Sorry.
no. I would honestly, in that situation, be the one being like, "Are the seeds going to sprout? Are the seeds going to sprout? When are they sprouting? Are they going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen this morning?" Because I know nothing about seeds and planting and
This
growing
is
things, and you know a lot about it.
this
So
is
that
the
would be the
magic of
opposite.
gardening. You just
Yeah.
always have a bunch of shit going on, so you forget what you did 4 days ago, and then shit sprouts, and you're like, "Did I put something in the ground?"
Yeah. Oh, there's a thing coming out of the
Holy
ground. That's
shit!
cool.
Awesome.
ADHD gardening, the best. But yeah, May is like, are the seeds gonna sprout? And the dad's like, it probably won't happen tomorrow or whatever. So they fall asleep, and he's like, don't think about it. Like, he doesn't say that, but that's the
But
vibe I got out of it. It's like
you're
being
4,
an
and
adult
there's
about it.
seeds. Like, it'll be
Yeah,
5 days. I know that's an actual eternity to you.
yeah. But they fall asleep, and in the night, Satsuki wakes up and sees Totoro and his little Totoro bunny minions
Your little
um,
friends.
doing a little dance around the seeds where they planted them. And it gets very exciting because the girls
And
go out and they start doing the dance with the Totoros.
so they all are going around the little field, and they're doing like a little uh a dance where they are kind of walking around the plot, and then they kind of bend down to the earth and then pull up. And Totoro has an umbrella, and his little friends have
The
little
umbrella that she gave
leaves.
him.
The umbrella that she gave him, and then his little friends have like leaves that look like umbrellas. And I was like, "Oh, that's adorable. They all wanted umbrellas." Um, but then the girls join him, and it's this cool thing of when basically Totoro, when he leans down and he kind of like pushes up, it's like he's pushing the seedlings out of the ground, like with, and you can see he has like little sweat beads, and it's like obviously effort,
Hmm.
but it's, you get the direct connection that Totoro has with the natural world, right? Where he kind of is like, I can like help these things grow. And
Hmm.
in this really sweet, kind of silly way, they're like doing this little dance ritual, whatever, under the moon. But it's so adorable because I cannot tell you the number of times I wished that I could do that and just be like, "Ah, germinate, come out of the ground now."
Yeah.
Um,
Go.
go, go, go. And it's really, and they make this cute little like popping noise, like bloop, bloop, bloop,
Yeah.
whenever they
Yeah.
germinate out of the ground. It's really
Bloop.
satisfying. And then it becomes this massive tree that's like fantastical, and all of the sprouts are growing together, and it's this huge tree, and it
Yeah.
becomes so fantastical, and it's under the full moon. And then Totoro has this little like spinning top,
Oh, yeah.
like
His little dreidel.
his little dreidel thing. He just like puts it on the ground and is like, and it just is levitating, and he's like, "Rah, rah," and he hops on the top, and his little friends like pew, hop onto his chest, and May is immediately like, I understand the assignment, let's
she,
go. Hops
she
on
knew
his
what to
chest
do immediately. It's like, aha!
immediately.
Big fuzzy thing to jump
Immediately.
on. Satsuki takes a
Yeah.
little bit longer to get with the program.
And they fly up to the top of the tree, and they play the ocarinas on the top, and it's like, it's this very fantastical sequence of where you're not quite sure if they're dreaming, if it's really happening, what's going on. But then the next morning, the girls wake up, and they're the seeds have sprouted, right? Like, there's not this massive tree, but all of the seeds have sprouted. And so they start being like, "Oh, we did it. We did it." And they start like dancing around, and it's so
Yeah.
goddamn cute. And also, P.S., I would, Evan, like to cordially invite you any time you want to do a seed sprouting ritual slash dance slash silly activity under the full moon with me. You're always
Oh,
welcome.
I'm there. I would love to
I know.
stand around in a garden and attempt to push some seedlings out of the ground. That sounds like
Dude,
a good time.
dude, my neighbors already don't understand what I'm doing.
So I want to shout out the music in this scene again. I don't know enough about the actual creation of the music to maybe say anything interesting or illuminating here, but I do just love when they're doing the dance. There is this like, I don't know. In my head, I call it the growing music because it's like very
Yeah.
quiet, very demure. But the music does a lot to elevate this entire scene. It's kind of like mysterious, but cute, but almost like, I don't know, like
Ethereal.
you feel them working kind of, it's methodical in a weird way. Um, and then of course the score swells to like the
Mhm.
most orchestrated version of the Totoro theme as they like fly around on the spinning top, and they're kind of like being the wind in a way. They're
Yeah.
sort of like, apparently Totoro like makes the wind happen as well. So, and then it ends on
Well,
them
and
being in the tree, like honking on these ocarinas, like playing like and Satsuki and Mae are kind of like trying to learn how to do it, and Mae is like just like blowing a single note, like not knowing how to do it yet, but like enjoying the process. And Satsuki is like kind of trying to like master the thing that Totoro's playing on the ocarina. So the
Yeah.
music just does a whole lot to elevate this scene. And let me just end this section on a quick little thought and say that I really love that they come back from um the night, and they wake up and the tree isn't there, but the seeds have sprouted.
Yeah.
This whole world kind of exists in a similar place. Like another early influence for me was Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, yeah.
And what makes that really special to me is that you, as a kid, your imagination and what you might call reality are kind of like interwoven,
Mhm.
and I love how, like, once the parents come in, it's like the tree isn't there, but the things did sprout,
Yeah.
so as a kid you're just closer to kind of like, I don't know, the unseen world of like what's behind the curtain maybe, or the energy field, or whatever you want to call it. So I just love worlds where you're representing the fact that like your imagination happened and you experienced it, and they experienced it together, right? Satsuki and Mei
Yeah.
both saw this thing happen, but they wake up and the tree isn't there, but the seeds did sprout. So it's like, was it
Yeah.
real? Wasn't it? It doesn't matter. You experienced it as a kid, and that is reality to you. Like
Mhm.
your imagined world and your real world are the same thing at that point. And
Yeah.
I love it also when those pieces of media also represent what you see as an adult and what you see as a kid, and you kind of get to experience
Yeah.
both of those worlds together. So that's a wonderful little thing that this movie does that I think is
Yeah.
also quite special.
It's just a nice way to be like, kids have real experiences, even if you don't always, as the adult in that kid's life, if you don't always like see them or experience them, like they're still real. They're still real to that kid.
We'll be right back with more Brother Sibling Movie.
And we're back.
We're back.
Let's take this right down. Because we're about to get to kind of the sad stuff in this movie. Um,
Again, the movie is My Neighbor Totoro, so it does
it's
not ever get, the Grave of the Fireflies level
God no.
sad.
God no. But it's sad in its own way. So something that we've kind of been talking about, and obviously why we wanted to do this movie in season two, siblings, are the sibling dynamics that you see between Mei and Satsuki. We've kind of
Hmm.
touched on them a
Yeah.
little bit here. Um, and one of the things that I just kind of wanted to open this section with is, I think I talked about this when we discussed Fairy Tale as well,
Hmm.
but the thing that to me is so precious And
Mhm.
I mean precious not in the like, oh, it's cute and adorable, but I mean like it's held dear to me,
Mhm.
and it's something I recognize and something I really appreciate is when you see that like sibling, cousin, whatever dynamic, but especially with siblings, where there are so many parts of their dynamic, their relationship, their
Mm.
interact that are so unknown to adults, right? Like
Mhm.
that just exist between them. They just
Yeah.
exist between those two kids as they're growing up, and there's nothing that can replace that, right? Like there's it's special and specific the way it's shown in this film of the joy and the silliness and the learning and the anger and the scariness and all of those things, but you're doing it together and so it feels somehow okay. And that is
Yeah.
the like I love that. I love that so much. Also because I'm like, well yeah, that's what it's like having a sibling.
Yeah. For some, not for all,
Not for
unfortunately.
all, unfortunately. Not for all.
Yeah. Yeah, these kids in this movie are so well represented within that sibling dynamic. I think they really caught something, especially between two sisters, which is obviously not my experience, but even just between an older and younger sibling, I think there's a lot to be taken from here. I
Mm,
mean, my personal experience, I can definitely relate a lot to sort of the way that Satsuki carries herself in the world as like
mm,
the eldest child. You can tell she feels this sort of sense of responsibility. And she has this sort of desire to be, I don't know, good and perfect. Not perfect, but I mean,
helpful and
I clocked that when um the that morning early in the morning in
ugh,
the movie where she's like making breakfast and lunch for everybody. It's like, oh, here we go, hypervigilant daughter
yep,
archetype.
here we go, baby.
But her box lunches, her bento boxes look
Ugh,
incredible. I was like, oh my god, I want
10
all
out of
that
10.
delicious looking food right now. Give it to me.
I know, it's
But
so funny.
but that
Yeah,
perfection and that ability to sort of like be caring to your younger sibling and also trying to be good in school and you know, having to sort of and later in the movie, you see her taking on that sort of the weight of the entire situation
yeah,
happening, as
yeah,
they
and
get the news that her mom needs to stay in the hospital a little longer, and you can tell that it's sort of like it's like, yeah, that there's a weight on her shoulders.
yeah, and it's so earlier in the film, they go and visit their mom in the hospital, and I think that's a really sweet depiction of an older child and a younger child. They're seeing their mom, who obviously they love, and Satsuke in particular, like, her mom brushes her hair, and it's this
Oh,
really sweet
yeah. The
moment
girls needing
where
to
May is
take
like, "No, me."
Yeah, they're like, "You gotta wait your turn." It's like, classic
Yeah,
sibling
she's like,
shit.
"Get away from me."
But it's also
But
very
it's that
cute. They obviously both want have the attention and affection of their
they
mother, right?
they both want the attention and the affection of their mother, and it's still that thing of I kind of love when Satsuke is like, "Wait your turn." 'Cause she's sort of
Yeah.
like, "I'm also still a kid. Like, I
Right.
also need our mom.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah,
I also
100%.
need this."
Yeah.
I don't have the experience of being an older sibling. I have the experience of being the charismatic and chaotic younger sibling. What's up?
Chaotic, yes. Charismatic, jury's out.
Fuck off. Everyone thinks I'm charming.
It is true. Everybody does think you're charming, which I don't understand.
It's a lie I've convinced everyone of. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. But, so kind of the last bit of this story arc film, whatever you want to say, is
Yes.
that
The third
the
act,
mom
if
is
you
in
will.
the third act. Is the mom is in the hospital and she's going to be able to come home for a weekend and then she'll have to go back to the hospital, and so both of the girls are really excited to have their mom come home for the weekend, obviously because she's been in the hospital,
Mhm.
and they're with Granny, who's this old woman character who we haven't even really touched on. She's a fucking delight. Like, I love all
Oh,
old
yeah.
women in Miyazaki films. They're so good. They look
Yeah.
terrifying but nice at the same time.
I know, it's a weird, dance that they're able to do of, like, "You're terrifying
Yes,
looking and also very sweet."
but also very sweet, and you're so nice. And so the girls are with Granny and her vegetable they're, like, picking vegetables and stuff. PS, major garden envy of Granny's vegetables. Wish my garden would do that. Um, but, they're kind of talking about, like, "Oh, we're so excited our mom is gonna come home this weekend, and we're so excited to
Mhm,
see her." And, like, "Oh, the vegetables, like, they're full of vitamins and all this good stuff." And, like, "Oh, if we give our mom these vegetables, she'll get, like, healthy and strong." And it's
mhm.
in that way that adults say things and don't always think about how a child will filter that
Totally.
information. Um, it it becomes this thing because then a telegram comes and Satsuki, like, has to go and, like, find a phone and call her dad because something is going on at the hospital and, like, something is wrong with her mom, which, like, PS, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying, right? But Satsuki is immediately like, "I'm in charge, I'm doing this, like, May, go with Granny, I'm going to do this thing, and, like, we're gonna da 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 da," right? Like, total older sibling, like, taking charge of the situation. What ends up happening is, they get the news that their mom has got a cold, and so she can't come home that weekend. And it's, man, what a gut-wrenching, depiction of that just in general, because obviously it's a wonderful depiction of children in two different ways, right? As the younger sibling and the older sibling having, like, really big feelings that they don't
Mhm.
super know how to handle and they don't know what to do with because,
Yeah.
like, Satsuki kind of comes away when it's, "Hey, our mom has a cold and she can't come home from the hospital. She has to stay and, like, she's not gonna come home," in this completely monotone shutdown place. And May is 4 and is like, "What do you mean? Like, mom should come home," and, like, has this, like, big reaction to it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they kind of get in a fight, and they yell at each other, and they say mean things to each other. Um, and it even though
I
it
think the
ends up
worst thing that
being
May says is, "I hate you," which is probably the worst thing you
yes.
can think of to say to about
When you're
anyone when you're 4
4
years old.
yeah, when you're 4, that's, like, the worst thing you could possibly say. But it's such a good depiction of even though both of the girls are feeling the same amount of hurt and the same amount of fear and anxiety, and, like, we just want our mom to come home, we just want her to get better, and she's not getting better. The 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 feeling is the same. And it's almost like because of their different
Yeah.
ages, different kind of like birth order positions, their reactions are so different of
Mm.
like the older kid has to keep it together and the younger kid gets to be like effusively emotional with it, right? And I mean that's partially being like
Well, sure. I
older.
mean, I think also though that May is like looking for the way to be helpful, you know? Like,
Yeah,
sure, she's being emotional, she's 4, but I
but she
think
wants
she's
to help.
also like, but I don't know how to help in this situation, which is
Right.
why she kind of takes it upon herself to be like, I don't have a lot of control over this situation, but I got my corn and I'm going to take it to mom, you know?
Because the
It's
corn
like,
because again, the corn is gonna make mom healthy, because that is how four-year-olds
yeah.
think, and I think both of those depictions are so pure and are so true of, like,
Yeah, we're
y
also given a lot more context to why Satsuki is having a big reaction when we learn that, like, it doesn't seem that big a deal, like, it's a cold, but
it's a
then she
cold,
tells
who
Granny,
cares?
like, when they took her to the hospital the first time, they said it was a cold, so
Yeah,
she has all this context of being like, this could be really bad. Like the last time we thought it was a
yeah,
cold, and now she's been in the hospital for God knows how long doing whatever. I don't know, you know? And
yeah,
it's true. Like as the older kid, I can see how she having more of that context is like, and also importantly, it's interesting that like it's after May sees Satsuki breaking down, like finally having an emotional
Yeah.
reaction, that May decides that she's gonna go off and take the corn to mom and go to the hospital on her own.
And I think that because there's this really heartbreaking, like, after they get the news, both of the girls go home and they're just, like, laying on the floor,
Oh
like,
my
in
god.
in
I
separate
identified
rooms.
with that vibe so hard.
So hard.
Just like sclafing, like I just got some bad news, or I'm depressed about something, or shit sucks right now. I'm just gonna fucking lay on the floor and just like put my fucking face in the floorboards. Shit sucks. You're just like,
Yeah.
it's another great moment where they use the stillness of the scene
Mhm.
and like no animation or a
Yeah.
lack of animation.
Yeah, because again, it's like, what do you do when you have such a big feeling that you can't contain it? Like, you just sort of crumple.
Hmm.
And I will say that Satsuki's been very kind of stoic, kind of in a shutdown place.
Yeah, because her brain has immediately gone to the worst case scenario. Like, what if
Right.
mom dies?
And she's trying to keep it together for May. Like,
Yeah.
she's
Hmm.
trying to be like, "May, this is okay. This is not a big deal, but you have to be okay with this." Even though
Hmm.
neither of them are okay with it, Satsuki's kind of being the, like, voice of reason.
Right.
But you're right that
Right. Because she feels like she has to be.
she has to be. And when Satsuki is talking to Granny without kind of May being there, and Satsuki really loses it of like, what if she dies? Like, what if our mom dies? Like, what do I do? And just starts
Yeah.
crying and can't contain it because obviously, like, how could you contain that? You're a kid as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. You're
that
between 8 and 10 years old.
yeah, that is the moment when May is like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm on the fucking case because I have an ear of corn and I can make shit happen. Um,
Pure little sister vibes. There she
your
goes,
little
not listening to
sister.
anybody yet again. I'll just
Typical.
fuck off on my own, even though I got scared by a goat earlier.
Fuck it. But
Fuck it.
it's
I
also
see
kind of,
that setting, son. I got corn. I don't care.
oh, Kerr.
And this whole sequence that comes up of
Oh,
just sort of like May getting lost, and because we for a while we follow May exclusively as she kind of goes down these roads and she doesn't
yeah.
really know where she's going, but the conviction that you've seen her have throughout this whole movie, you continue to see her have in this moment where she really doesn't know exactly where she's going or what she's doing, but she's going to do it anyway. I mean, neither of them really know what they're doing, right? It's not like, on
Obviously.
either of them. But I love that we just sort of follow her kind of like ambling out, um, recreating the path that she has known they've gone on to the hospital
But, like, that
before.
she kind of thinks they've gone on and wasn't
Right.
probably paying attention.
Right,
And it's
exactly.
and you get during this whole sequence, like, May runs away and she gets lost because she's trying to go to the hospital to see her mom, and
Hmm.
Satsuke loses her because,
Yeah.
their dad is at work and, whatever, and you get these 2 similar experiences in very different ways of being alone and being scared and, like,
Yeah.
trying to fix it, of May being 4, running around with corn, like, just trying to get to her mom, and then Satsuki, like, losing her fucking mind, like, running through the countryside, like, "I just lost my sister." Like, both of
Yeah,
both
this
of
whole
those.
and it's, visually it's juxtaposed this sort of
Mhm,
like qu audio in the audio, it's juxtaposed with like a kind of lack of sound. There's no music
mhm.
playing, right? and visually it's juxtaposed with these like beautiful vistas of the
Gorgeous.
Japanese countryside of this,
It's
you know, so she has to get
gorgeous.
up to like look to see where May is, and she's just like, of course it's a fascinating trick on the audience because you're just like taking in these beautiful vistas and like, but your mind is on like, where's May? And yeah, this whole
Yeah.
sequence just made me think like, man, the world is a beautiful place and full of wonder, but it can also be large and scary, and it's very easy to get lost in.
Yeah, and I really love how both of the girls' experience is like ultimately both of them are like physically safe, right? Like no one's hunting them, no one's hurting them, whatever. But they're alone.
Sure.
They're really lonely. And and
Yeah.
I was like that feeling of being little and
Hmm.
realizing that you're lost and realizing that you're like, oh, I don't know where I am and I also don't know how to fix it is really
Yeah,
scary.
totally.
And
And
the f- and
physically being
yeah,
feeling lonely and being alone, or be sorry, being sad is mimicked
yeah,
by the kind of physical sensation of being uh,
right,
geographically uh, lost or alone, you know?
right, exactly. And then like with Satsuki, it's like she's obviously worried about her mom, but there's the different anxiety of I cannot now that I am lost, I cannot find my sister. Like I don't know where she is. I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening to her. I don't know what's happening. And I was like, I have had the experience of being so lost that I did not
Hmm.
know where I was and it was terrifying.
Yeah,
I
as a
have
little
not
kid, you're just like, "Oh shit, this is what most fairy tales, I think, many fairy tales
right.
kind of
It's like,
about
well, this
kids
is
focus on."
yeah, like this is where the witch finds me.
Yeah.
And but then with Satsuki, I'm like, I thank God to this point in my life I have never had the experience of having lost a young child.
Mhm.
In term not like lost as in death, lost as in like I am a place and I don't know where the child is. Thank
Yeah.
God and crossing all of my fingers that that never happens because I was like, I cannot even imagine the terror, right? Like I don't think you never lost me. We were too close in age, I think, for you to be like a responsible adult, quote unquote.
I don't know if, like, I was looking after you and I ever lost you, but there was definitely a few moments I have very visceral memories of where things were about to happen, or well, yeah, we did lose you one time, and it turned out you were in the bottom of the jewelry cabinet at the store, just crawling around, like, somehow you
Oh
had gotten
god.
into a corner of it, and then we
Oh
closed the
god.
door, and they were like, "Where the hell is Meredith?" And then it turned out you were just, like, crawling around at the bottom of the jewelry store, jewelry cabinet. Um, but yeah, and then there was
Terrifying.
another time where I think you were getting on, like, climbing on top of a rack, and I was just like, "This is fun," and "Ha ha ha." But then I, from the ground, was like, "Holy shit, the rack is about to fall over. Oh no!" And I'm the one knowing what's
I'm
going on here. The adults are on the
yeah.
other side of the store. I have to do something, and I don't remember what happened, but I feel like I either caught you or you jumped off or maybe you just hurt yourself falling off the rack. I don't remember. But
But
I do
there's
have
like
memories like that where I was like, "Oh shit, something's about to happen and it's not
yes.
good. I feel responsible," you know?
Right, exactly. I think that's the piece is like you feel responsible and you can see what's
Mhm.
about to happen or something has happened and you're like, "Fuck," and you just like can't handle it. I don't know how else to describe this part of it. I'll talk a little bit about it in my like closing thoughts and things like that, but it is that feeling that you've had this film that's been so much about like joy and wonder and like yeah there's sadness and there's anxiety but it's overcome through play and joy and all of these things um but then this last bit really is like it's sometimes really, really scary to be a kid. Like, just the world is so vast and you don't have the tools to navigate it,
Yeah.
but you think you do, but you really don't, and that's, like, a very scary that is a very scary feeling.
Yeah, they do a really good job of representing the kind of like the terror of not knowing what's going to happen to your mom, of being young and not even really knowing what the hell is going on even, and
Yeah.
being like, are people keeping things from me? And then
Mhm.
yeah, that that additional level of like, oh no, like the little kid went missing, and
Yeah.
especially yeah, the eldest daughter is like, I have to do everything I can to like, especially because you can't do
Fix
anything
it.
about the mom situation, but
Yeah.
like I can at least run around the countryside and try to find my sister, you know.
And it's
um
and again, it's that thing of both of them are having the emotional experience of, "I can't do anything about my mom."
right.
And May's reaction to that was, "Well, I can't do anything about my mom, but at least my sister's okay." And as soon as she sees, "Oh my god, my sister's not okay, I have to
Hmm.
do something." Um,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, and it becomes this, like,
Yeah, she probably wants to bring the corn to her mom to get her
"Of
better as
course."
much for herself to get her mom better as she wants to do
So,
it for
like
Satsuki to show her that she did
yeah,
something good or something, you know?
yeah, she's like, "I'm also helping, like, you help all the time. I am also helping.
Yeah,
I am also a
I
good
know.
kid."
Very
And then
real. Fucking
it's very
Miyazaki.
fucking Miyazaki, and then so Satsuki is running all over the countryside, and then she finally realizes, "What
Wait
if
a
I
minute,
ask
I have a magical forest friend.
I have a magical forest friend." And she goes to the forest, and it's so cute because before she enters the forest, she, like, is basically kind of talking to the trees and is saying, like, "May's missing. I need help. Like, please help me. Like, please let me in because I
Mhm.
really need your help." Um, and then she gets in and she, like, falls on Totoro and is like, "Dude, May is missing. I'm so scared. I don't know what's happening." And immediately he's like, "Do you wanna go on a fucking adventure?"
Hang on a second, I got this one.
He's
Oh,
like,
it's the old
let me let
lost a
me"
little girl situation? I got you.
he's like, "Let me call my bro." And then we get one of the best characters in all of any Studio Ghibli film ever, Cat Bus.
Oh,
The
the
fucking Cat
motherfucking
Bus.
cat bus, bro. Yeah.
Motherfucking Cat Bus, bro.
Making his yeah, only 2 appearances in this film. Once at the bus stop and here to save the goddamn day.
Saves the goddamn day. And also,
Yeah.
we're saying he is a cat bus for a very specific reason.
Oh, yes, he is a cat bus because this cat has a balls
Uh,
for
oh,
for real, big old balls.
yes.
Yes, I'm happy to say that this cat bus, unlike the sanitized Disney version, has an anatomically correct cat bus, as he
Yes.
should be. Because in
As he
Japan, they don't give a damn about your
like, who gives a fuck?
taboos of nudity and
No.
genitalia. He's fallen down from up on top of the telephone wires that he
And he,
likes to
like,
hang out on like a little pigeon, and then he just spread eagles all the way down to the ground, and you can, you know, they're there, just flapping in the wind,
yep.
just balls out. Oh my god. Side note: I really hope eventually we discuss Pompoko for
Yes.
the fact that it's a great movie and other ball related things to
Yes.
talk about. And a side note.
And end side note. But yeah, so the cat bus shows up and Totoro's kind of like, "Look, I got my friend and the friend will help you." And the little, like,
The
I don't
little
know.
location counter at the top, yeah, it's like,
Yes, like a
oh,
bus goes to
scrolls from like the spirit forest to
sister.
like downtown to like May, which is great that it's just like,
Hey.
I'm a friggin' spirit, bro. Like I know where all the locations are.
Yes. And it's this great it it's such a beautiful scene too because it's like, the cat bus like defies logic and gravity and physics and everything, and no one else can see it, right? Like, and
Yeah,
Satsuki
so
even
cool.
mentions they can't they can't see it. They can't. Oh my god, because it's this like magical otherworldly thing that she has access, that May has access, and May when she is like alone in the dark on the side of a road hears Satsuki screaming her name and is like, "Oh my god," like looking around and it's the fucking cat bus is on the like wires, the electrical wire and just like whoosh, like falls down and is like, "Let's get you home."
I got you,
But it,
girl.
I got you, girl. But also when Satsuki's like, "May, like, what are you doing? Like, oh my god." And May is just like, "I just wanted to take a ear of corn to mom because like I wanted her to feel better." And so then the cat is like, "Brrr,
We're
we're going
going
to
to
your
the
mom's
hospital.
hospital." Boom bop. That's how I do it.
Very,
That's what I
very
do.
adorable.
It's so cute. And then like and then basically the end of the movie is the girls like the dad is at the hospital, the mom is okay. She's very worried. She says this line that like it just breaks my heart of being like, I hope the girls didn't worry too much, which is like, ma'am, have some self-awareness. Um,
Hmm.
but she was like, I know this has been really hard on them. It's especially been really hard on Satsuki, like
Hmm.
acknowledging like she's older, she
Yeah,
kind of
the
gets a little bit
emotional burden that she feels,
yeah,
no doubt.
she's carrying more of that, and but the mom and the dad are talking, and then there's a little ear of corn on the window that they, like, wrote, like, "For mommy," like, "Feel better," or
Yeah.
something on it, and even the mom, when she's looking out the window is like, "Oh my gosh, I I thought I saw Satsuki and Mei smiling at us from the trees, like, that's not possible," like, I think the mom kind of has a little of the, magic about her.
She's
Um,
touched a little.
she's a little touched. But yeah, and that's like Cat Bus takes the girls home and they return safely.
And that's the
Um,
end.
and
Don't
that's the
overstay your welcome.
don't overstay your welcome. And then you get kind of the cute like end title sequence where you see like the mom coming home and and the girls growing up and all of that stuff. And it's and the, like and that's it. That's what happens
That's My
in my
Neighbor
neighbor Totoro.
Totoro. I
Yeah.
mean, what a ballin' movie. I mean, I can't think of
Literally.
something that depicts that very specific childhood whimsy in a better way. I think other movies capture different flavors of it, but this
Mhm.
captures a very specific, beautiful, whimsical feeling of childhood, of
Mhm.
magic, of imagination being real. I love that the movie ends on that note of, are they just imagining Totoro and the cat bus? Well, the facts of the adult world are that there was an ear of corn on her
And they got home safe.
windowsill, which makes me think that, it all
Yeah.
really happened and they'll have
Yeah.
that forever.
Yeah.
And they
I
got to
love
hang out in a big old furry cat bus.
oh my god, which also seems like comfy cozy. Seems so
The
comfy
best.
cozy. Okay, well, before we get into final thoughts and takeaways, the last little thing before I get into my like actual thoughts and takeaways, um,
Mhm. Some thoughts and takeaways before the thoughts and takeaways.
some thoughts and takeaways before thoughts and takeaways. Um, I love that so many Miyazaki films, and My Neighbor Totoro is no exception, kind of touches on some of these enduring meta themes of folklore and fairy tale that kind of endure
Mhm.
across culture and time and space. And some of those things are like one good turn always deserves another.
Mhm.
When Satsuki gives Totoro the umbrella, he's like, "Oh, and now I also give you something, and like I also help you, and like we help each other."
Yeah.
Um, the idea of like children being able to see fey creatures, while adults have kind of lost the ability, for lack of a better word. Um,
Classic.
Classic, and then also I love, 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 love personifications of nature in like creature forms. And this is again, you in we're going to keep talking about Princess Mononoke that we've already talked about. But like the forest spirit is another great example, right? Like that is another depiction of a forest spirit, of an
Hmm.
embodiment of nature, an embodiment of this deep feeling,
Yeah.
this like deep beingness, but in a creature form that is like very otherworldly. And you see that through so many folk tales and so many fairy tales and things like that, that I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Hayao Miyazaki, you fucking legend.
Yeah,
Um,
did it all his own way, you know. I mean, he's very well versed in all of this stuff.
all right. Well, I wrote like two paragraphs of final thoughts and takeaways. Um, can I just read them and you?
I say
Oh,
go for it. Yeah, I
okay.
love that.
Okay. So about 8 years ago or so, I watched My Neighbor Totoro in a theater. It was like part of an anniversary re-release thing. And at that time, I hadn't seen it in maybe 9 or 10 years. Um, we obviously watched it a bunch as children, so I thought I knew it pretty well. I knew the story, the beats, the characters, et cetera, et cetera. But let me tell you, god damn, watching this film as an adult hits so hard. And therein lies the heart of why Studio Ghibli films are fucking brilliant. As a child, I focused on the cute Totoros and the cat bus and the pretty flowers and the love of the sisters. The emotional center of the film washed right over me because what the girls are experiencing is what I was experiencing as a child. Everything rang so true to my own experience as a child that I didn't even notice it. It's like the line from The Good Place, quote, I just suddenly had this calm feeling like the air inside my lungs was the same as the air outside my body, end quote. It's only in the looking back at my childhood that I remember how scary and wonderful it was to be a kid. I felt the brightness of the world for Satsuki and Mae. I felt the joy and the sorrow, their wonder and their panic. Watching it now, I recognize parts of myself in all the characters because each character is showing such an authentic version of their experience. No matter when you watch My Neighbor Totoro, you connect to it. You can't help it. My Neighbor Totoro is also such a departure from Disney slash American stories in general, especially animation. All Disney movies have to have a villain, a hero, a quote unquote noble quest. Not so for Miyazaki. The only villain in this film, or the only villains in this film, are the uncertainty of life and the terror of not understanding the world. No one character is the hero because that's life. We all have moments of being the main character, but most of the time, we're just trying to take care of the people we love and have some fun along the way. The noble quest is the two sisters trying to get through a transitional period in their lives, experiencing difficult things and jubilant things, equipped with the tools of children. My Neighbor Totoro allows you to walk a winding road, not a straight narrative path that gives you emotional signposts for how you should feel. It's a journey and a discovery each time. The sophistication, the stillness, the deft observation of childhood all make My Neighbor Totoro an enduring classic. To me, a story that you can come to over and over and experience or notice or feel something new each time is one of the hallmarks of great art.
Yeah, it's a pretty good flick. I give it 2 out of 5.
I love it. Love
No,
it.
that
I
was
love it.
beautifully said. I could not have. Obviously, I'm kidding. What beautiful words. I love that. I think that you hit the nail on the head. You said a lot of what is exactly right on about every Miyazaki movie and what makes them all special, but also specifically what harkens to what makes this particularly special and why it took the world by storm, you know? This is an incredibly influential movie for me. Like I said at the top, I think this is probably one of the first movies I watched that made me realize that animated movies weren't just for kids. Um, this movie's obviously a kid's movie, right? But it just felt so different from
It
anything I'd
is.
ever seen before. Um, so it did multiple things, right? It opened up my mind to be like, oh, animated movies aren't just for kids. Animated movies can tell
Yeah.
childlike, wondrous stories, but they can also go deeper about an experience that I've never seen represented on screen before.
Yeah.
And it also sent me down the path of realizing that movies in general could be about more than just a Star Wars mythological hero. And that would open up my eyes later on to sort of taking in movies like Lawrence of Arabia and Princess Mononoke and these, which are definitely very
That
big hero journeys, but that don't have specific heroes or villains. Everybody has shades of gray to their character that help them,
it's
you know.
it's literally it's so funny because as you were talking about that, I was like, that's why you love Star Wars and Lawrence of Arabia and Princess Mononoke. Because even though those are kind of like epic journeys,
Mhm.
everybody's right in those. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Well, Darth
e-
Vader's kind of the evil
every
prick, but sure.
I mean, yeah, 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 we all know that. But what I'm saying, you know, you can see you could see everyone's side of
Mhm.
their story, even though they are these like very like noble, epic kind of things. And we talked about that in Princess Mononoke too, right? Like
Mhm.
there's no real antagonist, there's no real hero. Everybody is
Yeah.
just flawed and doing the best that they can. And I think, yeah, My Neighbor Totoro is sort of the quote unquote child version of that, of like,
Mhm.
there doesn't have to be this grand epic story. It can be about these like small, quiet moments that are very particular and very special.
And it's also evidence to the fact that if you put your faith in telling a story in the characters that you're telling the story about, then you will be on the right path. Because if you are true to the characters and importantly their relationship to each other,
Mhm.
then you're on the path to having something really special. And it's
There's
funny to me that they thought, because it was so different from most movies and the subject matter that it went into, that they thought that My Neighbor Totoro was going to be a huge financial flop, and it turns out to have been one
and
of
it's
the
not.
greatest financial successes of all animated history. It
Yeah,
put
and
Studio Ghibli on the map.
it really did, and just speaking to what you were saying about, like, character driving stories, I've been watching a lot of interviews with Brett Goldstein, who's the, who's a writer on Ted Lasso, he's the
Roy
creator of Mission
Kent.
Roy Kent! I wish I had a deep voice like Roy Kent and was as scary as he is, but
Ah.
I'm a silly goose. I'm a silly goose. I also say fuck a lot, though. Um,
Silly Goose Who Says
but
Fuck a Lot.
he
Name of your memoir.
name of my memoir. Um, he talks about that a lot of I've been watching all these interviews with him of people being like, "How did you know, these stories are so endearing and they're so incredible and you have all these da 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 da." And he's always like, you write the character and the story follows. Like you write true to who the character is and who that person is on their journey, and inherently that creates a narrative. And
Mhm.
it's it's true. Like it's a different way of telling stories, but it is a very kind, empathetic, and compelling way to tell stories.
Totally. And this is a very kind, compelling, and empathetic movie that everyone should see.
Everyone should see. Hey
Cool.
man, do you want to throw
Yo,
a
person.
real um atonal shift in this podcast?
I think these are always atonal shifts.
Tambok na siksi. Tambok, tambok. Tambok, tambok na siksi.
Vibe check.
Ah! The vibes of this movie are
Open your mouth as big as you can and shout.
Open your mouth as big as you can and let out a giant cat roar.
Yeah, amazing vibes. Who needs a story? Who gives a fuck? Like,
Yeah,
this
I don't know
movie is
what else to say
perfect.
about this movie.
Yeah,
Besides, it's
it's
great,
fucking
man.
great.
Yeah.
Vibes, amazing.
Vibes.
Story, amazing. Like, who cares what the story is? The vibes are fucking top tier.
Yeah, it wins on the vibes front because it's such a distinctly different story than you would get. And yeah, I'd say the story is the vibes.
The story
You know
is
what I'm
the
saying?
vibe, man. Yeah.
The vibes
Oh, I
are
didn't.
the story.
For those of you who are maybe listening to Brother Sibling Movie for the very first time, Evan and I do not rate things on a star-based system or a number system. We rate films on two things and two things only, and that is how is the story and how are the vibes.
It's an ever continuing competition to see who can come up with new and interesting adjectives to describe the vibes with.
I'm okay. You know that like season 10 or something is just going to be movies that are all vibes. Like that's going to be every single movie. You can email us your thoughts, opinions, feelings. I don't know, whatever you want, really. Brother
Complaints,
sibling. Please don't email us.
recipes,
Oh, recipes I would really like, and gardening
deepest,
tips.
darkest secrets.
Okay, I want secrets, I want recipes, and I want gardening tips. So, brothersibling movie@gmail.com. You
Hmm.
can find me on Instagram at Lawn Daddy Lives Here. There are underscores between all of those words because
Yep.
lawn is the modifier of daddy. Evan, where can the good people find you?
The good people can find me on Instagram as well at Art of Evan K, at my website artofevank.com, and on my YouTube channel Art of Evan K. I try to keep it pretty simple for people. Art of Evan K all around. It's Art of
And
Evan
it's
K
just
all the way down, just
and
like the turtles.
it's just K. It's just the letter K.
Oh yes, just the letter
Evan,
K because my
just
last
the letter
name is
K.
impossible to say or
It's
pronounce.
it's so fucking impossible to say or pronounce. That's why I got married young and traded up.
The only
Uh,
reason, we'll save that for another podcast.
oh, I've already told Sean. They know. Um, please like and subscribe. Is that a thing?
Thank you for watching My Neighbor Totoro with us.
I feel like this season is if one of us doesn't at some point break down in tears, it will be me. Um, I'm like, this season is just gonna be like processing trauma.
This is why I didn't really want to do it all that much, but somehow you are a glutton for punishment, so I
I
go
just want
along
to
with
talk
it, I
about
suppose.
siblings with my sibling.
And I will
Don't
happily
worry.
go on that journey with you.
Don't worry. I have an entire soundboard of stupid sounds that can be used quite effectively to disrupt emotional tension.
Perfect. Well, we will be using it to great effect this season, I don't doubt.
Awesome!
Just like that. That could have been you. I honestly wouldn't have been able to tell. That's one way to end a podcast about My Neighbor Totoro. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. This has been a blast. We'll see you again next week. And hey, go watch a movie with your sibling.
Go watch a movie with your sibling. I love you. Bye.
Bye. Love you too. Bye for now.